So in our day 4 folder, the one that says prerequisites for network automation lab, it's the one that I've got opened up. And we're going to kind of go through a way that I set it up. This is certainly not the be all end all. You can do whatever you need to if you don't want to do it this way, but I'm just going to show you one thing that you can go through and do. So as most of you probably know, most of the things that we do networking side in the corporate world are done through Linux. Same's through with both of our Python and Ansible and Terraform and Nornier and all the other stuff that we use. There are Windows versions of it. Not to tell you that you can't go through and just install Python 3 on Windows version, but when you need to have like the request module, and you got to have the open PY module and some of those things, it's difficult or impossible to get some of those to work. Because to go and download the modules just so you can use it. Much easier in the Linux world to do that kind of stuff. So we're gonna do things, or everything that I look at, we talk about, we're gonna do from the Linux side of things to do it. So the easiest way to get Linux on your computer is use the built-in Linux that's on Windows already. If you're running Windows 10 or 11, you have Linux in your computer already. It's just disabled. So we're going to go get that turned on. So the first thing you got to do is get into your control panel, and we're going to go to this turn features on and off. Easiest way to do that, it's on my other screen though, is click on your start menu and just start typing. Turn Windows features on and off, and you will see it pop up as a control panel for you to get. So you get this window that pops up. And a lot of stuff is already checked off in there. But the ones that we're going to look for, if we scroll all the way to the bottom, you need to turn on the one that says Virtual Machine Platform. If you're running Hyper-V, it's better that you turn it off. But it can run. There's some features that just don't work when you're running too many virtual machines. So we need that virtual machines platform turned off, no Hyper-V. But if you look down 3 from the bottom, you'll see Windows Subsystem for Linux. You need to be sure you check that box. Virtual Windows machines and Windows Subsystems for Linux. And just say, okay, it's going to tell you you've got to install some software, restart your computer. So it's going to kick you offline when you do that. So you'll have to do that, get back online. I'll give you a few minutes for that to happen. So go ahead and do that step if you want to get this process going. See you back in just a few. All right, let's continue on from where we're at. So you've got those 2 things installed. Now we need to go and do something with them. So we're going to go to the Windows Store to get 2 apps that are in there. We're going to get the Windows Terminal app, and we're going to get the actual Ubuntu LTS 22.04 LTS image for us to use. I just posted the links on how to get to those 2 things in the chat window. So I'm going to go, it doesn't matter which order you put them in. I'll put Ubuntu on there first. So here's the Ubuntu. You just need to click download or install. And you need to go to the Windows Terminal app. Same thing. Install it. All right, so once those 2 things are installed, if you go to your start menu, all apps, and if you scroll down under the U's, you ought to see Ubuntu listed down in there. Ubuntu 22.04.2 LTS is what mine says. And when you run that the first time for you, it's going to pop up and tell you you need to you need to install it. Go ahead and do that. When you get down, it's going to ask you for a username. For the username, put Cisco. For the password, Cisco, like number 3 on that statement. Cisco and Cisco. Once that's completely installed, then close it down. Completely close down Ubuntu. All right, then the next step, we need to get the Windows terminal up and going. So again, go to your Start menu, All Apps. Scroll down under, put it, scroll down under the T's and you will see Terminal. When you start the Windows terminal then, it's probably going to open up first with PowerShell. That's kind of the one that's open. Jeff, do I need to wait for you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it really quick of where you were saying in there.
Okay,
I just got into the store.
Let me back up. I posted the 2 links that you need to go to. There's one to install Ubuntu, and there's one to install the Windows terminal.
I thought, say, why don't I just use my Ubuntu device? Would that be easier?
You can certainly do that. I'm just going through a way that where you can run it right inside of Windows, and you don't have to have a VM or anything else to do it.
Oh, okay.
But so you can run it just the same running it on a VM. It doesn't really matter. I've found I like having this terminal app built right into Windows. Plug in. I don't have to go wait for the virtual machine to open, do anything. Plug in, go. I'm on the terminal. I'll show you more about why I like it so much. So if you do it the way that I just showed you, then you need to just go down to your Start menu, All Apps, go down to under the Use and find Ubuntu, and it's going to tell you it needs to install first. Let it install, and then when you get down, it's going to ask you for a username and password. Put Cisco for the username and Cisco for the password, just so we're all doing the same thing. You can add accounts, you can do whatever you want to later on. I'll show you how to do all that. And once it's installed, you've got your user account, just close it completely down. Then you go back to your Start menu, go back to All Apps, scroll down under T's, and click on the terminal. When your terminal boots up, you probably will see PowerShell is the first option that you have. But again, that's what's set to be the default to start with. I have a little plus sign. I can make more PowerShells, whatever your default, so I can have multiple tabs. But if you click on the little down arrow, the down chevron, you can see you have other things. I can open up the Windows command prompt. So now I got a command prompt that I can run. I can unclick on that chevron, and now you should see Ubuntu listed as an option in there. And it's going to take just a second. It's got to start up the application from the virtual world. Oh, ready to go. Okay. You may see some information pop up. I was in it earlier. So I'm already there. So you can, for me, Ubuntu is why I use this the most, because I want to get in and do the from the Linux side. So if you go to that chevron, go down to Settings, and then it says Default Profile. I just choose, out of all of them, I choose Ubuntu. That way it's the one that starts up every time. So if I need multiple tabs, I can open up multiple tabs of Ubuntu, whatever. And I usually do that. If you got multiple devices, you could open those up. Whatever you need to do. I can use SSH and get into 4 different routers and switches if I need to, and have a command prompt open up from the Windows side. Everything works in here. The tab thing really is good. I really like using it. All right, so we got Linux up and running inside of here. I can do an IP address, IP add. It's going to show me all the IP addresses associated with this computer. So I got loopback addresses, these bonds, dummy, tunnels. Again, all this stuff, I don't really know what all of it does, but I do want to find mine has the one called ETH0. And I can see it's got a 172. So it's got this address assigned out to it. Let's just see, can I ping 192.168.1.10? And I can. That's the IP address that I put on my interface. And it's just going to keep pinging until I hit Control C. It'll tell me I got 10 packets, 100%. See what my delay times are, all that kind of stuff. So I can access at least my physical device from here. We'll look at the other ones in just a second. So let me minimize that. So again, you get the prompt. Again, whatever your prompt may not look exactly like mine did. Doesn't really matter what the prompt is.
Why is Brian saluting in this picture?
Okay, I just got mine where it mounts. It's going to share it already. So a couple of things we want to do to our accounts. So we need to go in and access this by sudo file. So just in your Linux terminal, open up on the wrong screen. So on the Windows terminal, I'm just going to type in sudo by sudo. Voodoo sauce sudo by sudo. That's going to open up Nano application, an editor, simple editor. You need to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And then you're going to add the line, your username. So if you put Cisco as the username, that's what you need to do. If you did something else, put whatever username you put in there, tab, and then be sure it's in all caps, all equals, and then in parentheses, all. Tab again, and put no pass WD, all. That's all you have to do is put in that line, and then close it. I'm going to hit Control X. It's going to ask you, are you sure you want to make changes? Yes. And then hit enter. Keep the default name that it was already set up for. Again, mine was already there. I didn't need to make any changes. Now the next line we got to do, we got to make you part of the administrative group. So just like in Windows, you would go in and make administrator. Well, we're going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to put sudo and then user mod. And then hyphen, lowercase a, uppercase G. So hyphen, start these parameters, append group. What group do we want to add to? The sudo group. And who do we want to add? Our user account, or whatever name you put in there. And that's all we're doing. Sudo, user mod, minus, little a, capital G, sudo, and Cisco in this case. Now you're part of the administrative group. there's that line right there. So you can use this grep command right here to check and see if it actually worked. You will probably, well, before you do that, you will need to restart Ubuntu. So just close down your terminal application, Windows terminal, and then restart it, and then go back to Ubuntu. So all you have to do. That's the restart. So in my terminal, I'm going to type it, grep, that whole statement that we had, and it's going to tell me the sudo group and give me some numbers. This is my ID number for the system, and Cisco is part of the sudoers group. That's what we want to see. All right. You may need to run updates on the system. So you can put sudo app update. It can do its thing. And then sudo app upgrade. It'll do its thing. It'll ask you a question. We're going to combine them. So I'm just going to put the sudo app update space 2 ampersands and then sudo app upgrade and then -y at the end, so it won't do anything, won't ask you any questions. Okay. Oop. I'm just going to copy that out of there of mine. Type in that one. It's going to go through and work. Think for a second. It's trying to use my Ethernet connection. Let's see here. Back out of that. So again, it probably will run pretty fast depending on how many updates that you need to do. But you should have everything updated. I was trying to go to my network that we're going to practice with. All right. Now that we got everything, our package manager is updated, and we've updated to the latest, greatest of all the different packages. So now we need to, Python is already installed in Ubuntu by default, but you can check and be sure by typing the command Python 3 space -- version, and it ought to pop up and give you some version. You should be at around version 10 is the latest version that's out there. Python 3 -- version. Helps if I spell it correctly. So 3.10.12 is the version that I'm using. That's what the latest greatest that this one was. I'm going to type in the command pip, and I can put pip or pip3, either one, -- version, and see what version it's running. It is not installed most of the time by default. Pip is the Python package manager. So if you do need to install that, I'm going to do a sudo app install, and the command for that is Python 3 - pip. Python 3 - pip. And mine is already at the latest version, so I'm good to go. If yours, it'll probably ask you to run it. Okay. So if you need to install Python, there's the command for it. 14. 15 is the command to install pip. And then there's two packages that we need for to work with what we're going to do today, or several of them. We need one called NetMiko. We're going to get the Git functionality. So I'm going to run those packages first. All right, once it finishes, you'll see the command prompt come back the way that it's supposed to. Next one, we're going to install a few packages through pip, the Python manager. So we're going to install a package called Django. That's a web browser, a web server. So we can run applications. One called JSON to HTML and one called Telnet lib3. So I'm going to grab those three things. Paste that in. It's going to go through and wrote Django successfully, wrote HTML and other ones up there somewhere. So it didn't take long to get those three things installed to us. And then if you want to run VS Code, I put that in the downloads, or you can go out to just Google for VS Code download. You'll see that site out there. You want the Windows version, whatever, Windows 10, Windows 11, but you want to run Windows version of that. This isn't a Linux one. If you want to run it inside of Linux, then you have to use Snap to do that. But I'm going to show you how we're going to just use the window ones for what we need it to do. Once it is installed, then you're going to go to your Windows machine, go find the VS Code, run it, and it's going to ask you to install a WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux extension. And just click on install when that comes back up. Then you'll need to completely close down the Ubuntu terminal again. And then start it back up. All right, so you got back up to your terminal when you're started back up. So I found some of the easiest way to do this is so that I can share things. I can do stuff in Windows, I can do stuff in Linux, and I share those things back and forth. So I actually go to my computer. I'm going to go to my C drive. Go scroll all the way down, find users. Find whatever your default count is. Mine happens to be Scott. And then right click somewhere in there and a new folder. And name that folder WSL. Create a folder and name it WSL, just like you see right here. So in that folder, I've got several other folders, things that I can do, some of our Python stuff and programmability and other stuff that looks like in there. But that's the basic where we're going to go do something. So let me, I'm just going to delete that and delete that. So on my Linux terminal, I'm going to map to that drive that we just created. So I'm going to use a backslash, or excuse me, I'm going to CD first, change directories, space, backslash. That backslash says, go to the root folder, look in root, and look for something called mount, M-N-T, and then enter. And then I'm going to do a list, LS, just so I can see what's in there. You can see it's got a map, a C, a G, a WSL, a WSLG, that WSL that's listed there is not the same one that we just created. That's something different that I was working on. So I want to go the same place we were at. I'm going to go into I'm going to CD again. I'm going to go no backslash this time. I'm going to go into my C drive. I'm going to go into my users, capital U's the way it was spelled on there. I'm going to go into my Scott, my user account, and then I'm going to go into my WSL. So again, seeing exactly the same thing that I seen in my Windows side of things just a minute ago. So we've just created file sharing is all that we've done. So on my Windows machine, I'm going to right click over here and make a new text file and call it test. Go back over here to my Linux machine, do an ls again. And there's the test file. On my Linux machine, I'm going to use the command touch, create the file. I'm going to call it text.txt, or let's call it text2.txt. I got to spell it right. As soon as I do that, now notice over here that it appeared in the Windows side of things. So these two folders are automatically linked together. Whatever I create in one, I could do in another one. I could create my Python documents in Windows, run them in Linux, vice versa. Just a great way to get that set up. And you can map that so that that's the first thing that comes up every time. So just a great way to make things happen for us. Move that out of the way and blow that back up full screen. So with that mapped, now I'm ready to, well, actually I'm going to go one more. I'm going to CD and I'm going to go to a folder called Python that's on my directory. You could create that in your WSL, create a directory called Python. mkdir space Python, or in Windows, create it, either way. So now that I'm in there, I'm going to open up my Windows version of a VS Code. So I'm just going to type the command code and a period. That period tells me this is my use the current folder that I'm located in. So use that to do anything. That's what it's going to map the Windows side of things to it. It's installing the VS Code server. And there it is. I'm now running. Do I trust this location? Yes, I do. So I'm going to say, just remember that trust. Say, okay. There's some pop-ups around here that we need to do, telling me different things that happen. Get started with WSL. Tell you something about that. Again, it looks like everything installed that it needed. But if you look down here in the bottom left corner, it says WSL Ubuntu 22.04. So it's running this as if it was an Ubuntu application. I don't have to have two of them installed. I'm just running everything that I want to. It mapped right directly out to my Python folder that I want to create stuff into. So very, very cool that those work together so well. All right, so that's going to tell me some of the things to do. Now we need to add a few extensions to make this work a lot better. Some of these are not needed for what we're going to do. Some of them, it just makes it look better. So this one called Error Lens, it's going to track. So if you mistype something, it's going to tell you about it immediately. So that's a good one to go get. This Material Themes, the Material Themes icon is just a look and feel of the terminal. You don't necessarily have to have those. I do want to go get the one called Python Indent, so that it automatically indents correctly everywhere when you need to do stuff. There is a Python extension pack that you can get, Python for VS Code that you can get. Those are all optional things to do. You do want to get one called PyLens. And then if you want to do anything in JSON, you can get that one. YAML plus JSON is available. One called Prettier, so that it makes colors for us. This bracket pair colorizer has been, it's automatically built in now, so you don't need to do that. This rainbow indent changes the colors as you indent, so it's easier to keep track of what you're doing stuff inside of there. So let's just go add a few of those things to it. So I'm going to go over here in this far left icon list and go down to the one that looks like the squares with one of them pulled out from it. It's going to tell you that's the extensions. And then I'm going to type up here in the top box the things that I want to do. So I'm going to looking for Error Lens. First thing that pops up there. Whoop, it went away. Helps if I spell right. Error Lens. So if I click on that, and again, mine's already got it installed, so I'm good to go. Yours will say install, or it'll tell you install down here in the list. I'm going to go grab the Python. Install in WSL. Yep, that's what I want to do. I see the one down there called Python Indent. Yep, I want to get that one. Looks like that one is installed already. I'm going to get that Python extension pack, get it for WSL. Here's the Python for VS Code. Oh, I think that's been, yep, that's no longer sustainable, so we don't want to put that one on there. And there's several of them. You could go and get the previewers and here's another extension pack and Python extended. You could go on and on. There's bunches and bunches of stuff that deal with Python. Those are the only ones that we really have to or want to get. I do want PyLens. Okay, so install that PyLens. And then if you want any of the rest of them, you can do that. Prettier is a good one to just have. Get Prettier code for VS Code. No problem, Jeff. I will. We listened to your conversation with your class, setting up your Net Plus stuff. I'll cut all that out of the recording before I post it to everybody, so you're good to go.
Appreciate it.
You didn't give away any trade secrets or anything, so any personal student information, you're all good. Okay. All right, next thing down, we can make a few changes to the editor if we want to do that. So I can go back over here in the far left, go down to Manage at the bottom, and go to Settings. And then some of the things that's good to change. I can type in Editor, Format, spell it right, Format on Paste. Okay, Format on Paste. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to go grab format on save. Turn it on. And format on top. Turn that one on. All good to go. I'll close down that settings window. We got all the things installed that we needed it to do. It may pop up when you start it every time, tell you there's some updates to the extensions. So if it is, you just click on extensions right there, and it'll tell you install, reload, whatever you need to do right inside of there. All right, now we need to set up some routers so that we can access them. So I hope you got your routers there so that you can get to it. If not, you may have to go to some virtual routers, go to the sandbox, whatever. I'm going to do the equipment on the real equipment. So I'm going to get out of VS Code for now. So as far as directions, we're here at the top of page 4. This is the topology that I'm gonna use. Except I've got 2 routers and 2 switches that are connected to mine. But this is okay. You just need one router and a switch, or just one router. Any piece of equipment will do. Any piece of equipment. So we need to set those up. So the first thing I need to do is connect your computer to your router through a serial cable. Through a console cable. So if you've got a smart USB to console cable, these blue ones, I highly suggest you get those. They're like $9 to buy. Great little cables, 6 foot long. Something else that I do that just kind of a best practice for teachers, I go buy these little switch boxes. Hope you can see that. And then again, I buy them off of Amazon. They're about $8. You're going to see some that are expensive, but there's some that are $8, the little cheap ones. I then plug my console cable into the back of that, and then go from each one of the other ports. There's 4 ports on it. I go to 2 routers and 2 switches, my devices. So once I've got that done, again, you can open whatever terminal application that you normally would run. In my case, I use one called Hyper Terminals, the one that I like the most. So you can see I'm here on some router. I can easily switch over. Now I'm on a switch. Now I'm on a totally different router. Now I'm on a totally different switch. Again, I can't tell the names. That's why we want to name our devices. But very simply, I got 2 routers and 2 switches. Our pod that we use all the time on our equipment, I got all 4 of them at my disposal right there. I like doing that because I've found over the 23 years of doing this, especially when you get high school kids, or it depends on it is, they get rough on equipment and they're plugging in cables and all that stuff, and pins get bent, and then you got a big paperweight when you get through. I've run several routers over the years, or students from doing that. By plugging this in, doing it this way, they don't ever touch that part of it. I never have any trouble. And in fact, on my racks that I use, I've got a patch panel across the top that's got all those devices connected to it. And then I've got ports for their local connections. So they never even have to touch this. This is set up for them all the time. All they have to do is plug and play which ports they want to connect to. One of those goes bad. Oh, well, $1.25, I got it replaced. So that was just a suggestion that I have for you. These switch boxes are great little things to have laying around. Other thing, before we get going too far, I need to go into my adapter. So go down and find your adapter down in the bottom right click on the adapter and go to the network and internet settings. So this window will open up for you. I'm going to go to Ethernet. Here's my Ethernet connection that I have. I'm going to go down here under the IP addressing, edit it, go from DHCP, set it to manual, turn on IPv4, and then give it this information. Okay, give it this information. It's going to ask you to put in you don't have to put in a default gateway because we're not going out anywhere. But if you do, the default gateway address is going to be 192.168.1.1. The switch is 2, router 2 is 3, switch 2 is 4, and I just put my PC on 10. All 24-bit networks, so we're all on the same network to do stuff with. You do need devices, routers, and switches. You need at least 22.2 or higher to do the automation process. What you're looking for if you go do a show version, you go open one of that up again. If I go whatever it is in this switch, show version, I'm looking for the image. So here I can see I'm running this image, this universal, and I got the letters K9. K9 means it has the security features built into it. I can use SSH. That's what that means. If you don't have that, you can still do this, but you have to go through Telnet to do it. I'm going to show you everything we do is going to go through SSH. So you need at least 12.2. Better if you're running version 15 or better, which you ought to have from an academy standpoint, everything running at version 15 or better. It doesn't matter. I can put an 1841, 1941, any of the 4000 series routers that we've had. Now the new 8000, 8200 series router, the 9300 switches, the 2960 switches, 3560 switches. All of them you can upgrade to 15.0.2, and that's the end of life that they've made for all of those, the switch side of things. So as long as you can get there, you're good for all the automation stuff that's going to be handed out to us over the next few years. Why we even push automation stuff, we do it a little of it in Netacad now, but my opinion, over the next 5 years, this is going to be big. 5 years from now, we're going to teach a little bit of networking like we do. Most of our class is going to be programming. We're not going to do anything like we've done it through a terminal anymore. We're going to do everything right through SSH, configure it over the network. So we remote to everything to work on it. At least that's my opinion of what I'm seeing that things are happening, the way they're pushing stuff with DNA Center and that kind of stuff. All right, we need to make some configurations for our devices. So here's my router 1 configuration. So basic things that we do everywhere. Put the host name on it. Put in an enable secret. There's that admin Cisco. Set a domain name. Generate the SSH information. Use version 2. And then be sure you have to go in and set up one interface that's going to connect to your network that you're creating. So here's where we did that. No shutdown. My line console, I don't have to do anything special to it, but I'm going to tell it to log in local so that it uses admin and Cisco. My VTY is going to be login and local, but I need to be sure that the transport input is set to SSH, because that's the way we're going to connect to everything. end, and then terminal length 0. You don't see that used very often. You know, when we do something like show run, and then it scrolls part of it and scrolls the screen, and then you have to hit the space bar to keep going. Scroll terminal length 0 gives you the whole entire thing at one, and then you can use your scroll bars to go back and forth through it. Depending on the application that you're using, sometimes it gets stuck. And you can't do more than one window at a time in that. And then I'm going to go in and save that configuration out. So I'm going to simply grab that, copy it. I've got my Windows terminal application opened up. I'm on router 1. Mine's set so enable and secret, all the stuff's right at the front of it. So all I have to do is right click and paste a host. We are all good to go there. All right, first device is set up. That will build out. So now I'm ready to do the other side of it. That quickly, I got it configured, set up, ready to go. And tomorrow I'll show you when we get into Ansible how you can, once that is configured like that, you can remote right into the device and wipe the configurations, put everything back, get the configurations off of there. I'll show you a grading program that I built. So you can just get their config right off their device and it will auto grade. I'll be showing you all that tomorrow. So I got all 4 of those devices connected up, I hope. So now I got to go plug back in my Ethernet. All right. STP is working. We'll give that a little bit of time. Packet tracer right now. My IPs are good to go. Almost there. Everybody's got a good shot of Joey taking a nap. All right, we're up. Let's see if we can go anywhere. So I'm in my Ubuntu. I'm going to ping 192.168.1.10 again. Be sure I still got connectivity. Yep. Control C, get out of there. Let's see if I can get to 1.1. Yep, 1.1 is up and working. Close that out. Up arrow. How about .2? Switch 1, I can connect to. Router 2. I got connectivity to it. And switch 2. So Ubuntu connects to all 4 devices now. All right. So that is what you need to be sure that you finish up this afternoon. So it's 2:30 now. I don't have any big announcements, anything I need to talk to you about the rest of the day. I'm going to give you the rest of the afternoon to be sure you've got some form of a terminal set up, Ubuntu terminal, whether you're doing that through a VM, whatever it may be, that you've got some routers and at least some routers that you can connect to, even if you need virtual routers. If you have your Cisco Academy maintenance agreement set up, which I hope all of you do, you can go in and find the CSR 1000V Cloud Service Router 1000 virtual. It's a virtual router. You can then load that in either VirtualBox or VMware. I personally like the VMware better, but you can do whatever. Just know if you use VirtualBox, you have to be using VirtualBox 17.1 something, the very latest version for it to work. If you're not running the latest version that came out about a week ago, you can't load that virtual router in there. Yes, I can do that, Damon. I will send you the link for you to be able to go in and do that. I got a PowerPoint that you can follow, but it's just a matter of you gotta jump through a couple of hoops and contact the service desk and tell them you want the academy maintenance. Give them your academy ID number and your ID number, and anybody that you want to set up, want to have access to it, they will give you 72 hours. They'll come back and say, oh, you're good to go. Then you can actually go log into cisco.com. Let me just show you when you do that, where to go get to those routers. So I'm going to actually go into just actual cisco.com. So I'm in the corporate, it will load. Oh, trying to go virtually again. Undo that. Okay, so in the corporate side, I'm going to go up here to the very top, log in. And now I'm going to log in with my Academy credentials. Same exact thing I did with the Cisco Academy. I'm now logged into the corporate side of Cisco. And I can now go under support, software downloads. Anytime. And then I can go somewhere down at the bottom. I can go look for the CSR 1000. No matches. Oh, there it is. I have to go to it. So it's an SD-WAN image thing that it's going to get to. And then you can do it through the SD-WAN software. That means it's only going to be available through that. No, we don't have the normal command line that we have through that, but just the one that says OS XE software is what we're used to doing. You can download that. And then there's a few hoop things that you got to get to jump through to get it to work. But basically, let me see if I get... And I just use VMware Player, the free version. See if I got the CSR running on here. And I do not. If I can go find it. Okay, I got too much memory set in it right now, so let's go.
Well, how much memory, Scott?
I got 8 gigs of memory set up for it.
Okay.
Let's back off. That's what it normally.
Don't mind me.
It says 256 megabytes is all that it needs, but I will up it way more than it needs to be. See if that's enough to make it do its thing.
Don't mind me. I was taking a little power nap.
So this is what you're going to see when that CSR comes up. It takes it just a little bit. First time you get it installed, and it's going to get down to a point and the cursor just flashes. Looks like you froze up. It didn't do anything. You need to give it a couple of minutes. It's loading stuff in the background. And then once you do it, you have to restart. You have to go do that on your own and actually go through and tell it to restart. So you can see the way that it says booting the kernel, and it's just sitting there. After you've done it, you've restarted, it's going to come back, and it might do that 2 or 3 times. But eventually, it's going to go on past that, tell you that it's starting to boot. So the first time it loads in this machine or any machine, it's going to take it a little bit. So don't get discouraged. Oh, it's not working. Give it a couple of minutes. If you don't see anything happening, restart. Give it a couple of minutes, restart. Eventually, usually after 3 or 4 times of doing that, it gets to where it needs to go. So if you're like me, oh no, I just clicked inside that window and hit the enter key to see if it would do anything. My cursor's gone. What am I going to do? Well, different on different systems, but in the VMware player, you got to hit the Control Alt keys at the same time, and it releases your mouse from the virtual world. See, mine is starting to load now. All these terms that it'll go through and ask you to do stuff with. Checking the memory. Starting to look like our normal command line does. All right, I am logged in. You can see I had CSR 1KV. It's doing its thing. It just assigned some IP addressing for me in there. All right, so I'm going to enable, and I'm going to do a show IP INT brief. So I can see 192.168.139.128 is the IP address that was assigned to this gigabit 1 port here that we got. $139.128. All right, let's see what I can do with that. Ping 139.128. Oh, put the wrong address. Read my typos. 139.128. There it is. So my virtual Ubuntu machine terminal is connected to my virtual router. So now if I'm sitting home, I don't have any routers. Your students don't have any routers to practice with at home. Ta-da, they got one that they can use. Full-blown functionality. It is a real router. Any command that if this is the real command line, the iOS XE software, I can do whatever I need to inside of there. So I think it should be set up with an SSH command already. So let's just try that. SSH to admin at 192.168.139.128. Let's see if it'll let me try. Oh, I don't have these Diffie-Hellman things. Oh no, that's a mistake. Why? I don't know. Ubuntu has discontinued automatically loading those encryptions. So that's something that we have to do. That's what Cisco is using for the encryption, but Ubuntu doesn't. So several ways that we could go about fixing those. The easiest way for you to go in there and do it is let me get that pulled up where you can see it. Hang on a second. Go back to these are things we're going to look at tomorrow talking about, but we found the right. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Let's blow that up some. So we're going to nano into this tilde/.ssh, meaning that it's hidden, /config. And then we would want this host : indent Kex algorithms, and then add those two things that it just told us we couldn't use, that weren't there for us to do. And again, it's got some options for other things. So if you need to get to your Raspberry Pi or Windows, you have to have some of these other encryption type things to go through and set those up. So I'm going to do that. Sudo nano tilde dot ssh and config. And then there's nothing in that file right now. I'm going to paste that in there. Now I've got to be sure I paste it correctly. So being that I got to use my arrows. So I'm going to be sure that's the second line. And I'm going to tab it over one time. Or 4 spaces, whatever you want to do. All right, good to go. I'm going to save. Yes, I want to save that to that config file that we just had. No such directory. Oh, Ubuntu, what have you done? All right, I'll leave that. I'm going to open up a new terminal. Another version or another one of Ubuntu. Let's go into, let's do a touch tilde at, tilde just means my home directory, and look for the .ssh /config. Let's see if it'll build that. No such directory. Okay, so I have to do it. Sudo mkdir and tilde /.ssh. Now that I have that directory, I'm going to go back up. Oh, that took. I'm going to go back over here and see if it will let me save it now. Yep, now it's got that one built out to it. Now from that Ubuntu terminal, let's see if it will. All right, no key top found. Oh, they offer, and it's giving me some information across there that I can't see, of course. SSH RSA. Another one that I had to add. Groups added there. Let's see if up arrow, and let's go to, let's see if we can just add SS. Nope. I got to put a -O. And SSH -RSA. No argument. Okay. Put that in parentheses. Something else has got to be added. I'll figure that out in the morning and let you know what the issue getting that part going, because that's really a tomorrow thing that we have to have that for. All right, so for the remainder of the day, whatever you got to do, go get up an Ubuntu version set up, get up a some type of a router, whether you use real equipment, virtual router that I just showed you, whatever you need to do to get all that stuff set up. And then So when you get here at 9 o'clock in the morning, we're going to start right in on our Python programming. We're going to do Python stuff in the morning. After lunch, we're going to come back and do Ansible. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about Terraform and Narnier and some of the other things that are out there that you can do. So yes, I do this with my high school students. I set up this same terminal things on their computers so they can go in and access this stuff. And then when we get to chapter 13 in CCNA 3, we do several of those network controller labs like we did this morning. And then when we do chapter 14, I teach all of the Python programming things in chapter 14. And then if they want to go into the DevNet side of things, that's where they learn Ansible and containers, Docker and GitHub and REST APIs and all that kind of stuff that we go through and set up inside of into the DevNet side of things. But tomorrow morning we'll jump right into Python programming. Tomorrow afternoon we will jump right into Ansible programming. Have a good day, and we will see you tomorrow.